Barakatay Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Various Topics, dated June 29th, 2021, the year of the hastening, the coming of our Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And pretty much this topic is pretty much just based around just different things that's been popping up in my head, just been meditating on. And I was watching Elder Yashuama's video earlier this morning, and it just brought certain thoughts to mind, and just based off of things that we teach, based off of things that other people teach, and based off of individuals that come against us, but don't come against others. And I'll explain what I mean in a minute once we get to the first point. I have let's see, two major points, and if the Spirit brings anything else out, then we'll go into it. But I just got two major points to bring out, and pretty much the topic is based off of the doctrine that we, the Hebrew Israelites, teach, and how these wacky-tacky plantation Christians have a problem with the things that we teach, and they constantly attacking everything that we teach. But then when it comes to their own, they don't really check on them, they don't say anything about them. When it comes to other people that are teaching other things, they don't say anything about, because basically what it is an agenda against the Hebrew Israelites. And Vocab, the devil Malone, he's been set up purposely to come against it. So he's being paid to do what he does. I was going to say a little joke, but I'll save that one for later. But anyway, the first topic is Moab. All right, we the Hebrew Israelites teach that Moab are the Chinese, so-called Chinese. You have Ammon, that are the so-called Japanese, and you have other, different nations or nationalities of people that are biblical, and some of them you can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, and some are a little harder, but you could prove certain things. But some, it's pretty much by way of faith and something called process of elimination. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when we say that Moab are the Chinese, right, just dealing with just Moab alone, which Moab happens to be the son of Lot through one of his daughters, the oldest daughter, I believe it was. They got their father drunk and slept with him and got pregnant, both of them, by him, because they thought that he was the last man on earth, and they so-called wanted to preserve seed. And this is where you get the Moabites and the Ammonites from. Now, we teach that the Moabites are the so-called Chinese, and Vocab Malone comes against us and pretty much has a problem with that. How can you prove that, or this, that, the other? He has a problem with that. But notice now, you have the so-called Moors, right, of the unconscious, a black unconscious community, as we call them. You have the Moors that are so-called Negroes, which they're Israelites. They're so-called Negroes. I said so-called Negroes or so-called blacks because that's what the label that you have today. And they teach that they come from Moab, right? Which they don't, but they teach that they come from Moab. But you don't ever hear Vocab doing videos about them. Or you say you're the Moabites, or how can you prove that? He never goes against them, but they teach that they're the Moabites. So why don't you go against them? Huh? You see? It's hypocrisy. We teach that the Edomites, Esau, the father of the Edomites, and the Edomites, which that's what their name was changed to. Edom, going back to the Hebrew word Adawam, which means red. So Esau, or the Edomites, we teach that they're the so-called white people today. You know, and it's not every so-called white person out there that's an Edomite, because you have Israelites mingled among them that look like them, but they're Israelites. You have other nations mingled among them that look like them, but they're their particular nation. So not every single so-called white person you see out there is an Edomite. You know, so stop with the bullshit. All right, you got individuals coming on comment boards talking about, yo, you say all white people are evil. No, the ones that are Edomites are evil, because you have so-called black-looking Edomites. You have so-called Chinese-looking Edomites. You have so-called African-looking Edomites, because Esau mingled among these nations too. You know? So get your facts right, man. So we also teach that Esau is a so-called white man, which they are. You know, and when you go into biblical prophecy of the end days, it all points to the people that are ruling, that the Edomites will be ruling today. They will be the head nation that will be ruling today. And they will be the very nation that Yahushua will come to visit, you know, when he makes his second return. And we know that we're close to it because of all the prophecies that are popping up. But now when we read the Blue Letter Bible, the Blue Letter Bible says that Esau are the progenitors of the so-called Arab people. You never hear vocab question that. Although the Bible clearly shows you and tells you, and it's a known fact, that the so-called Arab people come out of Ishmael. But you never hear a peep from vocab about that. He won't talk about that, because his whole thing is just to come against the Hebrew Israelites. It's hypocrisy. It's not being an apologist or a defender of the gospel, because he really believes that, yo, you know what, I really believe this, and I really believe you Hebrew Israelites are really going off, so I'm gonna make it my life's goal, you know, to correct you guys. No, basically what it is, he was paid to do this thing, to push this agenda, you know, and that's what he's doing. That's exactly what he's doing, pushing the agenda of the so-called elite, coming against the Hebrew Israelites, because they see that we're waking up and they have a problem with that. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to go into some precepts. I'm not really going to go into proving, you know, who this person is or that person is, but we're just going to make a few points based off of the scriptures, because the scriptures ultimately is the book that is the source, you know, of the facts of what's going on in the world today, you know. And that's why the scriptures say, if any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of the Most High. You know, let the Most High be true and every man a liar, that thou might be justified in thy sins and might overcome when thou art judged. So, what I want to do is just give you a little recap in history. We go to the beginning. Yahushua and the angels created everything that we see, including people. There were a lot of people on the planet Earth. You know, you had the Edomites, which were the sons of God. You had the other nations, which are the sons of men, and then you had the sons of the wicked, which back then was the seed of Cain. All right, the serpent seed. So what happened was, there was a lot of wickedness going on in the world, and the Lord got tired of the wickedness and destroyed the wicked with the flood, saving the elect at the time being 8 souls. 4 men, 4 women. That flood destroyed everything we see, all living life on earth, and the birds and all of that. The only thing it didn't destroy was the sea life, because they live in the sea. Then the waters abated, the waters left, dry land was back in effect. You know, the ark, which rested on the mountains, plural, of Ararat. From that point on, once Noah knew it was safe, him and his family and the animals came from off the ark. So, being that there were no people on the planet, Noah's family, his 3 sons and their 3 wives, had to repopulate the whole earth. And they started having children. You know, and through these 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, was the whole earth repopulated. As we read here in Genesis 9 and 18. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them, these three sons, was the whole earth overspread. So all people on the planet Earth, no matter what they look like, where they at, what language they speak, what nationality they call themselves, they all come out of one of these three sons of Noah, either Shem, Ham, or Japheth. Right? Now let's go from there to Genesis 10 and 1. It says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. So this is the repopulation of the earth through these sons, three sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Right? So we read in the second verse, the sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshach and Tyrus. So this happens to be the lineage of the Japhetic people, which those that are in error claim to be so-called white people because of the land masses that they were living in Europe, so-called Turkey, the islands of the Mediterranean Sea, so on and so forth. And this is why they identify the so-called white man with Japheth, which that's not true. Because when you go and you do research and you look up just two peoples, the Etruscans and the Minoans, when you look at them, they look like so-called Hawaiian / Polynesian peoples, because those are the sons and daughters of Japheth. Because the original inhabitants of so-called Europe today and these islands in the Mediterranean Sea happen to be today, we believe, which we're correct on, happen to be the so-called Polynesian people. And when you look at the pictures of the actual Minoans, the actual Etruscans, and there's others, you could see that they look just like the so-called Hawaiians, so-called Tongans, so-called, all the different Polynesian peoples. Now you have a lot of Israelites among them also, so don't get it twisted. All right. So just on those two people alone, we see that the actual inhabitants of Europe and the Mediterranean islands happen to be people of color, and they look just like the so-called Polynesian people. Now I know some brothers are going to get mad about what I'm about to say, but we've been of truth, so we have to teach the truth. I know brothers get mad when they see Esau ruling in Europe, in them different lands in Europe. They say, man, that's my land. But really, technically, all of those lands belong to Japheth before Jake got in there, before Esau took over. So really, the ones that really should be really mad are Japheth. Those so-called Polynesian peoples should really be the mad ones, because that's really their land. That land didn't belong to Jake. That just happened to be prophecy that took place, that the Lord said that Jake would take this devil down and bound him 1,000 years. But really, that's not really our inheritance anyway. That's really the inheritance of Japheth, So like I said, I know a couple of brothers, a few brothers out there are going to probably get mad about that. But when you really process it in truth, you see that the actual Polynesian people are the ones that really belong in Europe and the Mediterranean islands. Okay, so it goes on to say this. Let's see what else we got. It says, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Riphah and Togarmah, and the sons of Javan, Elisha and Tarshish, Kittim and Dodanim, by these Japhetic people, these brown-skinned people, because Noah himself was a brown-skinned man. Noah's wife was brown-skinned. Shem, Ham, and Japheth were all brown-skinned people. You didn't have tri-colored children coming out. Now, in the case of Jacob and Esau, that was a different story, because you do have in the world today people that are dark brown, that have one child that comes out brown, regular child, and then one comes out looking like a so-called white person. So that is, those are things that actually happen, but that's not what happened back here, because they say one came out black, One came out white and one came out yellow. You know, some bullshit like that. No, they were brown-skinned people in the beginning. Then it says, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, and their families in their nations. And this is a scripture that is misconstrued by the so-called Christians once again, because I went back and forth with this one Christian years ago on the comment board, and he said, well, see, that proves that only Japheth are the Gentiles, because it says in Genesis 10 and 5, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands. You know, and I said, well, the word Gentile, you know, which goes back to the word Gawayim in the Hebrew, it says everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. I said the word Gentile and nation are synonymous, because the word Gentile is Gawayim and the word nation is Gawayim, or nations is Gawayim. And he had to back up, because all the peoples on the planet, you know, they were nations. They were all. They're all from one man, you know, or a family of men that created that particular nation. All right. So I just want, you know, it just came to mind. Just remember this. So I just wanted to throw it out there. Then it goes on to say in verse 6, and the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim, and Put in Canaan. So we identified you brothers out there and a few sisters that don't believe us. Well, all you got to do is go to your sources, you can go on Google and type in Etruscans, type in Minoans, you know, and you're going to see brown-skinned people. Who do they look like? Do they look like white people? No. Do they look like so-called black people? No. Do they look like so-called African people? No. Who do they look like? Do they look like the so-called Polynesian people? When you look at it, you're like, yeah, they look like them. Now, in the Minoan art, when you look at the Minoan art, you're going to notice that the women of the Minoans were always painted as looking like white people, looking like white women. Now, you might say, well, that means that some of them were Polynesian and some of them were white. No. When you research Minoan art, when you when they painted the art of the Minoans, the men were painted regular brown and the women were painted white to distinguish them from the men. You know, because if you look at them, they both had long hair, they look similar, and when you look at the Polynesian people, you know, the men and the women look alike because they always, you know, they wear the long hair. But what distinguishes them in art was they painted the women white for some strange reason. All right, and that's just another little tidbit. So if Japheth are the so-called Polynesian peoples, that means we got Ham and we got Japheth left. So we just read that Ham in verse 6 of Genesis 10, and the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim, and Put in Canaan, which he had 4 sons, and they had sons and sons and sons and so on and so forth. Now, through research, you find out that the so-called Hamitic people that inhabited Cush and Mizraim and Put in Canaan, which today would be so-called Ethiopian, so-called Egyptian, so-called North Africans, and so-called South Africans. And those peoples are what? They are so-called black people, or so-called Negroid people with woolly hair. And these so-called scholars that put together the Compact Bible Dictionary, when you read Ham, it says Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor. You look up the word progenitor, is the word father. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negro. So they even identified, which we could identify today, that these 4 sons that came out of Ham were the progenitors or the fathers of the so-called dark races. You know, dealing with the 4 sons of Ham, right? But then it goes on to say, not the Negroes. Are not the so-called Negroes dark? Do not they have woolly hair? So how did they distinguish between the two? How did they know that? Because they know that the so-called Negroes that were brought here to America in slavery are not the same as the so-called Africans in Africa. They're 2 separate people. Now you have a lot of Israelites in Africa because we fled in, you know, our forefathers or our brothers fled into interiors of so-called Africa, but they are not Africans. All right. Then it goes on to say, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites, which are all dark-skinned people, brown-skinned people, which today would be identified as so-called African. And consequently, the name Ham comes from the Hebrew word Ham, which means hot. The name Africa comes from the Latin word Afrigus, meaning no or not, and frigus, cold, not cold. So if it's not cold, what is it? Hot. And what does Ham mean? Ham, hot, because of the climate that they would be, the continent that they will be living in. Now, when you research so-called Ham, or not so-called Ham, so-called Africans, which are Hamites, their land stemmed from so-called Africa or the land of Ham all the way up to where you see Babylon and those areas there, because you had Babylonians up in that area, you had Canaanites all throughout what's known today as Israel, Palestine, and those coastal cities there, you know. Then you had the so-called Egyptians that were further down, you know, and the original Babylonians, Nimrod and them, they were so-called Ethiopian, and they were called Ethiopians later. And this is where the whole mix-up is, because everything in the scriptures, we just read that the whole earth was repopulated. So why is it that all people on the planet Earth do not identify with one of Ham's sons? You know, or one of those descendants down the line. Why is it that they don't identify with that? Because things changed. Now, when did these things change? When the Greeks started to come into power, about 350 years or so prior to Josephus coming on the scene. And I'm using Josephus because when you read the Josephus, he goes into some of the history of how the Greeks changed the names of these different places, you know. But there's still some stuff that he didn't get right, because remember, he was writing down the history of at least 350 years prior to him. So some of the stuff that they did, he probably didn't even know about. So he wrote down, at the time that he was living, he wrote down some of the documentation that he read from in the history, and wrote some of that stuff down. That's why some of his stuff is off. He's on point with a lot of stuff, but some stuff that he brings out is off. You see? So the so-called Greeks were the ones that changed everything. That's why they call the Ethiopians, they call them Esapar, or the Cushites, they call them Esapar, which means burnt face. You know, they're called Ethiopian from Ethiops, which I believe Ethiops is like a dark color, you know. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't, you know, looked that up in a while, so just bear with me if I'm off on that, you know, correct me on the comment board. So this is what those devils did, and that's why we don't have that every little nook and cranny of every fact, you know, historically, because these devils change a lot of stuff and they hid a lot of stuff. But this is what the Lord said. This Ecclesiastes, because he the Most High himself established Noah and his 3 sons, and Noah's 3 sons to repopulate the earth. But you leave it up to these devils and they're going to dictate and change what they want to change. Fuck out of here. Ecclesiastes 3 and 14. I know that whatsoever the Most High doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And the Most High doeth it, that men should fear before him. That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And the Most High requireth that which is past. So everything that the Heavenly Father set up in the beginning was set up in proper order. So the Lord wants everything back to its proper order. And that's what's going to be the job, when Yahushai and the elect, the 144,000 and the men of the Lord are set back up into power. That's what we're going to be doing. Lord's will, we make it, with the Lord there. We're going to be putting the earth back into its proper order, setting everybody back in their proper nation, giving everybody back their land. The only one that's not going to get land is Esau, because they're not going to need land, because after 1,000 years of hardcore slavery, they're going to be exterminated. And everything is going to go back to its proper order. All nations that are on the planet Earth are going to go back to one of those three sons, Shem, Ham, or Japheth. And they're going to go back to their proper nationality, whether they're the Moabites, the so-called Ammonites, the Ishmaelites, the Hamites, wherever the Israelites are scattered, they're going to come back to their nationality as Israelites from whatever prospective tribe they're from, so on and so forth. The Edomites, everybody, the Japhites, they're all going to go back to their proper place. Now the Medes are also Japhites, and the Medes are brown-skinned people. When you do the research, you have carvings of the Assyrian Empire, and you see the Assyrians are brown-skinned people, which come out of Ashur. Then you have Aram, which are the Syrians. Now among the Syrians you have a lot of mix. So you have a lot of people that are actually Syrian from the line of Aram, and you also have a lot of Israelites there too, specifically a lot of Ephraimites, because Ephraim was scattered all throughout that region. All right. So let's go from there to Malachi, chapter 3. So everything that you've done, devil, it's all in vain, because the Lord is setting everything right side up. And we know you're not going to accept it, because your curriculum, you're in power right now. So of course you're not going to accept it. But so what? We're to tell you anyways. But you're going to get that next, Lord's will. All right, so this is Malachi 3 and 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So if the Lord doesn't change, that means whatever he established in the beginning is what's going to come out now. All right. Let's go real quick. I only got a couple of precepts. I don't really got much. Let's go to Isaiah 25 and 7. Oh, just something else came to mind. All right. Let me just get that and get this other one so I won't forget it. Hopefully I won't forget it. All right, so I got both. So let's go to first Isaiah 25 and 7. And it reads, and he will destroy, who's the he? The Most High. And he will destroy in this mountain. What's the mountain? Here in America, Babylon the Great. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. Why? Because the people that came into power, they started to change things. And who did that? The wicked did that. Let's go real quick to I got two precepts real quick. Just bear with me. It's a little windy, so this is kind of flapping in the wind a little bit, but that's all right. That's all right. We're gonna get there. All right, so just bear with me a second. Let me hold that, and let me get the other one that came to mind. Was what was it? Lord, please. Nice. Let's go to Proverbs real quick. Proverbs. I'm sorry, not Proverbs. Job. Job. chapter 9, verse 24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who's in control? So-called white men, which are the Edomites. So by process of elimination, if they're in control and the earth was given into the hand of the wicked, who are the wicked? They are, by process of elimination. He said, he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So who did that? The Edomites, the so-called white people. They're the ones that covered up the faces of the judges thereof. So if they covered up the face of the Most High and Yahushua and the angels and the Israelites, it ain't the other nations that they're not going to cover up. And it's no coincidence that when Josephus penned down what he penned down, he said that these Greeks changed the names of a lot of these people. You know, this is why you got the Nile River being called the Nile, because Nile was not the actual name of that river. The name of that river was called Hidika. You know? Oh, wait a minute, Salaki, hold up. You had the Tigris, Euphrates, you had the Pison, and the Hidika. Hidika was the name of the Nile River. You know, let me just go to Genesis just to double check. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that, but you know, I want to make sure. Let's see. Eastward, brown, garden, and then went out of the garden. Boom, boom. The name of the first is Pison. And the name of the second one is Gihon. I'm sorry, Gihon. That's what Gihon is. Was the actual name of that river, and he's the one, and they're the ones that changed it to Nile. Okay, Salaki on that. Hidikil is the Tigris River. You know, so Gihon is the Nile River today, which the Greeks changed that. So how come everything, when all the nations were conquering and ruling, they didn't change the names of people? They didn't really change the names of lands. Who did that? It started with the Greeks. And doesn't Esau say that civilization started with the Greeks? Yeah. So what we're left with today is just remnants of some historical facts that are left, but we still got the Bible. You see? So the scripture says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Who did it? You know? Now the other scripture I have is in the book of 1 Maccabee, the 1st chapter, and the 7th verse. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. These are all Edomites. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Now, part of the evils that were multiplied in the earth was what? The covering up of the judges, the covering up of the peoples of the earth, who they are. The ultimate is the Most High and Yahushua and the angels and the Israelites. But then everything else, they covered up everything. There were a few things that the Heavenly Father left intact, like the Euphrates River, who the Ishmaelites are, you know, and certain other facts that could be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's why you have to use something called the process of elimination. So we read Proverbs 29 and 16. It says, when the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. And that's why we see the earth in the total corrupt, wicked state that it's in today, because they've covered up the faces of the judges thereof, and they've caused wickedness to multiply on the earth. So when we go to Isaiah 25 and 7 again, it says, and he, the Most High, will destroy in this mountain, America, the face of the covering cast over all people. What is the face of the covering cast over all people? It was something that they glazed over the world. You know, they put a different face, you know, over the original faces. Let me just try to pull up that. Let me see. let's see what comes up. Those two are words there. Let's go to Isaiah, the 25th chapter, and the 7th verse. Let's see what it says. Face. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Yep, panyam, which is faces, plural. Face, ground. All right, so pretty much it says in front of, before. So in other words, the word or the face that should be there, they covered it up. And let's see, the other one is covering. The word covering is lawat. Covering, envelope, veil, covering. A veil is something that you put over. And why did Moses wear the veil? To cover up that super glow that he had on his face from the virtue of the Most High. And then it goes on to say veil. That's the word masakah. A pouring, libation, molten metal, cast image. So in other words, the image that they portrayed out there, you know, not an actual image, but the picture of what people see today. That's why they call Jake black. They call Ephraim and the other tribes so-called Latino. They call the so-called Native American Indians, which are Gadites and Reubenites, they call them Indians. They call the Chinese. They call the Japanese. They call themselves white, so on and so forth, because they put a covering, an image over everybody else. So the whole world is pretty much going by what they were taught that people are today. But they have no clue of biblical nationalities. And that's what the prophets are here to do. You know, to set the record straight that Yahweh Bashem Yahushai had set up from the beginning, because it said that whatsoever the Lord doeth, it shall be forever. All right, now let's go from there to Isaiah chapter 60. I'm sorry, let me get this other one first. Let me just get Isaiah 60, but I forgot about this one here. This is Isaiah chapter 29. Salakia. Isaiah 29 and 15. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, and their works are in the dark. And they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us? Yeah, and that's what these devils have done. They've been secretly working in the dark. There's a book called the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, and in that book they said that they're going to hide from history any history that was unfavorable to them. I'll let y'all meditate on that one. And who wrote that? Amalek. And what is the greatest shameful history that they have, besides being cavemen? That they took our nationality. And so they hid all of that. That's why when you research Esau from after the Herodians, it seemed like they disappeared, but they didn't. And then and it's funny because when you research the Khazarian Empire, you could only go back but around the 4th, 5th century AD, because they cut out whatever was linking from the time when Yahushua was on the earth and the apostles, you know, until you get to the Khazarian Empire. So there was about, you got probably about 200-300 years, maybe a little more, a little less, history that you can't even really find, because they said they were going to get rid of any history that was unfavorable to them. You be the judge. So it says, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as a potter's clay. Yeah, because once you finish with your madness, people are going to know what it is, because the Lord is going to reveal it. And that's what's happening now. That's why he's pulling the veil back. But your deception was so strong that you still have a lot of people that are still deceived by it. But the elect are not deceived. It says, for shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? Yeah. And that's what the Lord is revealing you now. And he's going, the same way he allowed you to be built up is the same way he's going to smash you down. So now let's go to Isaiah chapter 60 verse 1. It says, arise, shine, for thy light is come, And the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth. And the darkness had covered the earth. It says, and gross darkness the people. And that's why the whole world was in darkness as to who was who. You know? But now it's coming out. It's coming to pass. The prophets are showing what's really going on through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem El Shai. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Yeah, because the Lord had to open up the door of understanding and to unveil these mysteries in order for him to be able to expose the devil that did it. That's why it says in let's get that real quick. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians. I'm just trying to get this. Okay, 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter and the 8th verse. It says, and then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. What is the spirit of the Lord's mouth? The scriptures, but who are the ones bringing out the scriptures? The prophets. So the prophets are revealing this devil, right? Then it says, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, because first comes the judgment, the sentencing. I'm sorry, first comes the sentencing stage, the revealing stage, the sentencing stage, then the judgment. And the ultimate judgment is their dreams are going to go up in smoke. So now, let's go from there to Amos 3 and 7. It says, surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets. So the prophets are going to be given the secrets of to what's going on to reveal them. This is what the Most High said. He said his word does not go out void. So if he said he's going to do it, well, he's going to do it, and he's done it. And that's why you see all of this information coming out. And Esau being exposed. Like the Lord said, he will cast shameful spewing on their glory. Because now the world is really starting to see what these devils really did. But they're still working, they're still hard at work trying to keep the deception going. But it's only going to work on those that are not a part of the elect. So it says, surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealed the secret unto his servants the prophets. The lion hath roared, who will not fear? The Lord power hath spoken, who can but prophesy? And that's what's going on, saying before it comes to pass. So that when it comes to pass, they can know that a prophet has been among them. Now, let's go from there to the book of Jeremiah, the 1st chapter. And the 4th verse, it says, Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet to the nations. So a prophet to the Lord ordained him to be a prophet to the nations, right? Which he ordained us to be prophets to the nations. So if the Lord ordained us to be prophets to the nations, right, would he not identify who these nations are to us? So that we could tell them, okay, look, you're getting this, you're getting that, over there you're going to get this, When you read all throughout the book of Jeremiah, concerning Edom, or concerning the Ammonites, or concerning the Moabites, or concerning Syria, or concerning this nation, or concerning that nation, or concerning the Egyptians, concerning the Cushites. So if the Lord is going to send us to these nations, will he not identify who these nations are? He said he reveals the secret to his servants, the prophets. So in order for somebody to get their just due, they have to be identified. Most High is not the author of confusion. Let's go real quick to book of Daniel chapter 7 and 13. I'm sorry, no. 11. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, the horn being America. I beheld even I beheld even till the beast was slain, which the beast is NATO and the EU, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. And America is a part of that also. As concerning the rest of the beasts, meaning the other nations, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. So we know that the Edomites have no, they have no hope. Even in Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, it brings that fact out. Let's get that real quick. We're going to look up the word Edom, or the name Edom, right? And the very last paragraph says Edom figures prominently in the prophetic scriptures as the scene of great future judgments, with an S. See notably Isaiah 34, 5 and 6, and Isaiah 63 and 1. She is the only neighbor of the Israelites who was not given any promise of mercy from the Most High. So if she wasn't given promise from the Most High of any mercy, and she's supposed to be a scene of great future judgment, that means she's still here today. This nation is still here today. And the Lord said that when he comes back, he's going to visit them. The scriptures identify the Edomites as being the wicked. The scriptures say that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So you give something to somebody, it becomes their possession. So the possessors of this world that is wicked is given into the hand of the wicked, which the wicked are identified in the Bible as the Edomites. So the people that are ruling by process of elimination are the Edomites. You see? That's it on that. So now, what I want to do is go real quick to Genesis, the 25th chapter, real quick. I just want to get something out of here, right? Let's just get Genesis 25. Let's read that, and then let's go to the concordance. Genesis 25 and 25. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they call his name Esau. So Esau, right? When we look up the term Esau, let's see if they have it here on this in this concordance, because I know it's in the Blue Letter Bible, but I'm not sure if it's going to be in here. But there's a point there. All right, the name Esau. Let's see what they say. Esau, hairy, which is that it does not mean hairy. The name Seir or Sha'ir means hairy. The name Esau, Ishashua, means wasted away his heat. It says, check this out, eldest son of Isaac and Rebekah, and twin brother of Jacob, sold the birthright for food when he was hungry, and the divine blessing went to Jacob. Then it says, progenitor or father of the Arab people. See how these devils do? How come Vocab never questions that? Or how did they come to that? Or how did they come to that conclusion? He'll never do a video on that. Now, let's go one better. Let's go back to the book of Genesis. What is that? The 16th chapter. I'm not sure the verse, so just bear with me real quick like. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I left my my other phone at home, just running around like a madman. So I left my other phone home, so I can't look it up real quick like, but let's see if I can find it. let me go to the 17th chapter. It might pop up a little more. The 17th chapter. Salaki, brothers. If y'all brothers could find the scripture where it says Ishmael, anyone, the one in Genesis 16 or 17. That's what I'm trying to look for here. But like I said, I don't have my my other phone, so I can't search for it. So I'm just trying to like breeze through it and see if I can find it. Damn, man. We're almost done. Like I said, I just want to make this point. Here we go. Got it. This is Genesis 17 and 18. And Abram said unto the Most High, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee." So we go to Ishmael, Yashemai Allah. Yah is he, Shemai is here or heard, and Allah is power. He has heard of the power. So it says, son of Abraham and Sarah, Sarah's handmaid Hagar, and the progenitor of the Arabian peoples. So wait a minute, are the Arabian peoples Ishmaelites or are they Edomites? Because we just read for Esau that the Edomites or Esau was a progenitor of the Arabian people or the Arab people. Here we're reading that Ishmael is a progenitor of the Arabian people. So what is it? So you see the deception that these devils do? You see what you see the fuckery that these devils do? That's why you can't trust nothing that these devils do or say. All right? So all nations of people are going back to their proper and true nationality. You know, from the three sons of Noah, which is Ham, Shem, and Japheth, you know, you have those three sons who repopulated the earth. All nations are going to go back to those nationalities on down the line because they had descendants. Now, Jacob, Isaac, Abraham, the Israelites, they didn't come directly from Shem, or should I say they didn't come directly out of the loins of Shem, but they did indirectly because that line was a chosen line. You had Shem all the way down to Terah, which was Abraham's father. Then you had Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then you had Isaac that had Jacob and Esau. So Esau, you know, is not in Genesis the 10th chapter. Neither are the Israelites, nor Abraham, nor Isaac, but they all came out of that chosen line of Shem. That's why they would be known as Shemitic Hebrews. Let me say that again, so you don't get, oh, well, you said that the Abraham and Isaac and the Israelites don't come out of Shem. I didn't say that. Listen good. Open your fucking ears up. And I'm saying it that way because you got some retards out there. I'm saying that they didn't come directly out of the line. Like in other words, Shem had 5 sons. Neither one of those 5 sons were named Abraham or Isaac or Israel or Edom. But they did come out of that line later on. So when you read Genesis 10, you're not going to find every single nation there because you had other nations that came out of the line of those children that were born to Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right? I could already see the, you know, oh, you said, I could already see it. That's why I had to pause, you know, I had to pause and make sure that it was said the correct way, because you got those individuals out there, you know, that are going to take it and say, well, that's what, and watch, they're probably still going to say it anyway. Well, you said, you know, a bunch of retards out there, man. But like I said before, you are a necessary evil because you are part of, you know, this whole, the whole spectrum. You have to have the good and the bad, you know. So with that, there's been various topics, you know. I just wanted to touch on that, dealing with Moab. You know, Moab we teach are the so-called Chinese, and vocab and others give us flack for that, give us slack for that, and talk shit about us about that. But the Moors, you know, that are Jake, so-called black men, they teach that they come out of Moab, but you never hear anything coming from vocab and none of them asking or questioning them why they call themselves Moabites, or to prove that they're the Moabites. You know, then we just read how the Edomites, or Esau, was identified as the so-called Arab, the progenitor of the Arab people. But then when we read about Ishmael, Ishmael is identified as the progenitor of the Arab people. So who is it? Is it Esau or is it Ishmael? I mean, we know it's Ishmael. Even them so-called Arabs know that they come out of Ishmael. You know? So with that, you know, I pray that you brothers and you few sisters have learned something and have been edified. Till the next time I say shalom.